All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's edition of A Sip of Knowledge with Marty Duffy, Liz Rhoades, and Lou Bryson. Plus, this week's special guest, Chad and Sara, from a wonderful show called It's Bourbon Night, who I will let your host give a more formal, extended introduction to in just a moment. Real quick, before I turn things over, I'm Will Hookinga from Zavvy.co, and as always, just want to point out a few different ways that you can interact with the folks on the show today throughout the duration. So on your right, you'll see a chat box. Feel free to say hello. Let us know where you're joining us from around the world. It's always great to see that. If you have a question at any point for Chad, Sara, or any of your hosts, there's a little button at the bottom to ask a question. So just hit that, type your question in there. I'll be keeping an eye out for those throughout the show today. And last but not least, feel free to invite anyone you know to join us. There's a share button at the top that makes it really easy to do that. But with that said, Marty, Liz, Lou, I will turn things back over to you now.
Hey, thanks, Will. You're the best. And you know, Will, I want to leave you with a little something that I read in Lou's latest book. To really understand a whiskey brand, let me make sure I'm getting this right. To really understand a whiskey brand, one must pull down the brand's pants and stare at the chubby thighs of the marketing team. So, and this is in his more latest edition, Tasting Whiskey in the Nude. So, he just put this out.
Really
good. Whoa, photos. No. Yeah.
Full page.
He has another book that he did with Liz called Whiskey Masterclass and Fight Club, because Lou, I know. Well, I could talk about it. I'm not in it, but Liz can't. But it's really just them drinking and then punching each other a lot. So, anyways, my name is Martin Duffy. I am the former senior master of whiskey at DIAGEO, Johnny Walker Class 1. And then for 18 glorious months, I was the national brand ambassador for Benedictine French liqueur.
So nice.
8 years, just 8. 8 years as co-producer of the Chicago Independent Spirit Expo. And for the last almost 7 years this month, the sole brand representative for Glencairn Crystal.
Very nice. Very nice.
All right, Lizard, always punching up. That's what Liz will cold cock you if you're not careful. She is really into that Fight Club stuff.
Thanks, Marty. Hey, everyone. Thanks for joining. I'm Liz Rhoades, technical distiller and spirit consultant. Have just over a decade of experience across the alcoholic beverage industry, working on a few different products and substrates, including beer, rum, vodka, but my particular favorite and expertise, of course, is in whiskey. I spent most of my career at a small mom and pop company known as DIAGEO, but I'm now currently founder and principal at Spirit Safe Consulting. Hey, want to learn a little bit more about that? If you scroll down to the About the Host section, there's actually a link to my website. Click it, check it out. Lou?
Thanks, Liz. I'm Lou Bryson. I'm a whiskey writer. Been doing that for quite a few years, more than I care to mention. I was the managing editor at Whiskey Advocate magazine for 20 years, helping to shape the voice of whiskey writing, which was a lot of fun. But eventually I decided to go back to full-time freelance, and I am currently pushing my latest book, Whiskey Masterclass, and of course, the classic not in the nude version of Tasting Whiskey.
So much better. So much better.
I'm actually two-fisting today. Supposedly it is National Scotch Day, so I'm drinking a Port Charlotte 10-year-old, and later in the show I will be shifting to the bourbon gear with the new Square 6 from the Evan Williams Bourbon Experience, tiny little micro distillery, which they just sent me. God bless them. So that's it from me. Marty, take it. Oh, sorry, I almost forgot my current benefactor. I'm a senior drinks writer at the Daily Beast Half Full. Yes. And just dropped my big old Tennessee Whiskey is Bourbon piece on the world, which was a lot of fun. So
nice.
Now to you. Now to you.
Thanks, Lewis. By the way, I'm going to be drinking some Bullet in honor of Bourbon Night. Just cuz. And I used to represent the brand. I have loads of it in the back room. I've looked at it as my own little compensation when I bolted from the company. Kind of like that Pappy heist. Hey, did anyone see that, by the way, real quick? Mm-hmm. The Pappy heist thing? Was that Netflix? That was
I part one.
I didn't know it was all that, but it is. Anyways, hi, everyone, and welcome to A Sip of Knowledge. This week, it's a little different. We like to explore different levels of the whiskey world, you know, whether it be a distiller or a brand ambassador or an importer, and from around the world. Here, we're going right back home, and this is going to be interesting. First off, I think this is the first couple that we've ever had. I'm always looking for first.
I believe so.
I like that. Sarah, a little hi, but Chad didn't do it, so it flunked. It would have been perfect. Anyways, we have Chad Perkins and Sara. Am I saying it right? Well, no. Do you go by Perkins or because
I go by Ahlgrim, but I'll answer to either. To be fair,
I like Ahlgrim.
When I'm making a dinner reservation, I use Perkins because it's easier. I don't have to spell it.
Yeah. I do too. That's the weirdest thing.
That is weird.
Yeah. It's a good name.
It's a good name.
5 for Perkins and just 1 for Duffy. Thanks. So anyways, they are the hosts of It's Bourbon Night. And if you haven't checked it out, go on YouTube. I believe we have a link down below. Little Will, do we not? I can't see. Only Liz and Will.
We do.
Yes, we do. But it's great. And they've been at it for 5 years. So we're going to kind of get the background on how they got into all of this, and you can see a portion of their collection, which is vast. That's an episode you should all check out, is their collection. It's kind of cool. Just goes on. Anyways, hi guys. How are you?
Hello.
Doing good.
We're good. We're good.
I'm working on shortening up my intros.
I feel like now we have to do all of our bona fides. You guys are so bona fide. We have to make some stuff up. So
I know. I thought 5 years was a long time until I heard Marty's thing.
I'm Chad. I'm going to make some stuff up. I'm the CEO and
that sounds too fancy.
Founders of It's Bourbon Night and
whiskeyambitions.com.
Yeah. There we go.
And like you said, 5 years.
5 years.
Just hit the mark.
We're drinking on whatever we have left from the episode that we just filmed less than an hour ago. I don't remember.
So halfway into this, you might see a change if we keep drinking. So
your episodes in the morning?
Yeah, that's ironic almost. It's Bourbon Night, but filming in the morning.
In the daytime. Well, sometimes it's just when we have to get it done. I prefer to film in the afternoons, but sometimes you have to have a 10 a.m. bourbon.
Yeah. Plus, you two might come after you if you say it's bourbon morning.
It's bourbon.
It doesn't have the same ring to it.
No.
It does have a ring, though. It's just not the same ring.
Yeah, it might perk up the ears of some. I don't know.
Sensorially, from a technical perspective, 9 a.m. is a wonderful time to do sensory.
There you go.
Oh, look at that. Why is that? Because your palate is wide awake, just fresh.
Yeah, I feel like that's probably.
Here's a question before we get into your guys' background, since this is brought up. Mr. Fred Minnick, our all mutual friend, once told me we were on our way to a distillery together, and he balked at me because I was chewing gum. I thought I like chewing gum; it keeps my breath fresh. Fred, and Fred, he said, "Wow, you know, when I go taste whiskey, and especially when I'm judging, I almost never brush my teeth. I might not even brush my teeth for a day or so. I might not even take a shower."
I didn't say that.
And I go, Fred, you know, bad breath is a flavor too. So, from all your perspectives, yes, Liz, I want the scientific perspective.
Continue with the question. Sorry.
No. Well, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, it's after 2 to 3 seconds, your olfactory bulb it'll adjust. So if he has constant bad breath, then he doesn't actually detect it.
Right.
So in a way,
I mean, he doesn't know it.
That's the new base.
it's a yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's a base. So as long as what he's appraising doesn't have the same aroma compounds of his bad breath, then I think he's probably good.
Then it doesn't matter.
And then I catch a new whiff of myself, and it's just not right.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying.
Everyone
Right.
is assuming that he would have bad breath. He could still have the breath of angels. We just don't know.
Or he could have exactly breath, which smells exactly like a rhino's butt. Yeah. You got to be careful. I mean, have you ever catch that where you breathe out and then you turn your head?
You're like,
oh my
yeah.
God,
Yeah,
breath.
is that me? Right?
That's me. That's not great.
I don't have the
Cat in my
baseline of a
pants?
rhino.
Where the hell did that
I
come
don't
from?
know.
Yeah. Anyways, all right. Let's go back to the
Let's
topic at
continue.
hand,
Yeah.
which is you two.
So what I've learned is brushing your teeth is up for debate.
Yeah.
But if you're going to
Especially
do it,
if you're the king of whiskey media, then it's definitely up for debate.
Yeah.
Well, I did find for those out there though, there's a cool mouthwash that takes out the sulfury compounds in your mouth. I like rinsing. Doesn't have any other kind of flavor to it.
Mhm.
It just kind of leaves you with a neutral breath, which is better than bad, I guess.
Okay.
or you could just gurgle some Rumble Mints. You just
That's what I do when I'm driving. When the cop stops me.
Mouthwash.
Yeah.
You mean-
Well, we always said when we started the channel that we would have what we called a control bourbon beforehand, which is basically like we akin it to stretching before working out. So we would have
something lighter.
We'd have a drink of something that would be no higher than what the whiskey we were getting ready to taste, of course, but
proof wise,
but something that we kind of knew the baseline, like Wild Turkey 101, or back in the day it was actually Henry McKenna, Bottled and Bond a lot of the times before it got all crazy. So I feel like, if you've brushed your teeth in the last hour or so, I just feel like you need to get reacclimated to whiskey by tasting something and then letting it dissipate, drink water, get that out of your mouth, and then go on with your critical tasting.
I would also think baking soda and water, just gargling with it.
I've never heard of that.
Can we back up? Can we back up? Can we learn more about Chad and Sara?
Right.
No, it's this for the rest of the show.
This is like the third time we've tried this, but
We
sure. Why don't you go ahead?
We have that whole halitosis episode in about a month. So all right, Chad and Sara, you guys. Now it's a fun. I don't know all of it. What I do. It sounds really fun. You two met through whiskey. So first off, where were you guys and what were you doing before you met and got into whiskey?
Well, I think we were both already into whiskey, but just not to the degree that we are now or after we met, really.
Mm-hmm.
I was working at a production company originally. I started as an editor and then eventually just got tired of, sitting in a dark room for 8 or more hours a day. So became a writer, producer, director, mostly writing and directing. But at that time I was an editor, which meant I didn't normally go out on shoots. But when I heard the client, which is where Sara was working for, I said, you need me to go on this shoot, because I would occasionally go out, because I also film. If they needed an extra body, an extra camera, they would sometimes ask me to come along if I was able. But on this project, I was like, you guys need me to come along on this, because it was a multicam shoot and it was a new bourbon bar. And I had already at that time, at least at my work,
he was kind of the bourbon guy,
known as the bourbon guy. I knew more about the other people there, which isn't saying a whole lot
at the time.
But I had established myself as kind of like, the bourbon guy of the office.
Yeah. And so I was working for a restaurant marketing group in Central Kentucky, Bluegrass Hospitality Group. Nobody knows it by that name, but I feel like most people know like Malone's and OBC Kitchen. So OBC Kitchen is a bourbon bar in Lexington, and they opened in 2014. And I was on the marketing team, so we were doing a video. We wanted like sexy bar footage of drinks being poured and all that stuff. So we hired a video company, and that was Chad. So we did a couple shoots over the next like 6 months, and that's how we met, and we became friends, and then realized, at that point we were starting to get into just like we were already, like you said, both into bourbon, but up until that point it had been like, started with bourbon and Coke, graduated to, water, ginger ale, and then ice. And then now we were just in neat territory. But like when we were opening that bourbon bar, I thought, hey, I live in like the heart of bourbon country, and I don't know that I could name more than 20. And this bar that we're opening has more than 200. I feel like that's a problem for me. So I was like, I'm on a mission. And that's kind of when we met. We were like, okay, we're both on a mission to expand our horizons. I'm in marketing. You're in video. We're doing tastings anyways. We're hanging out doing tastings as friends. And so we were like, why don't we record these and put them on the internet? Because why not? It would be fun. And so it really just started as like a hobby of just let's record what we're going to do anyways. And it kind of took off. Our first episode that we did was 50 bourbons under $25, which took us a while to make because we had to get 50 bourbons under $25. And we had no budget. At that point, we had zero budget.
And then we had to go through 16 flights.
16 flights, like March Madness style.
Our first episode was the 16th flight, basically. Yeah. The finals.
So and once we put that one out there, I don't know, it just kind of started.
Kind of going from there.
Yeah. And that was 5 years ago. Yep. And now we're married. So whiskey will do that to you.
Sure.
Yes, it will.
Especially after one long, production day. Honey, I like you married. Wow. Yeah. Well, and so your show does really, really well now. And it's been 5 years. I mean, so you guys have been at it for quite some time. I know there's some YouTubers been on for, I don't know, 15 years. I guess.
Yeah, I feel like we got in at the right time. I mean, and it really wasn't planned that way. When we started it, YouTube hadn't quite blown up to what it is now.
I mean, not whiskey wise.
Not whiskey wise. I mean, for other things, but there wasn't like, we call it Whiskey Tube, which is kind of a whole community of people now. And when we started, I mean, there were maybe one or two channels, but they were mainly doing Scotch and just like international stuff. And
they would do
the occasional bourbon.
Would do everything. But I don't really think there was a channel that was really concentrated on bourbon at the time. We don't really know because honestly,
we didn't really look around.
It's not like we watched other whiskey channels on YouTube and thought one day we're going to make our own. We hadn't watched a minute of it really. And the only reason for that is I don't even really know what the reason was for that. We just,
I don't know that we were aware that there was anything out there to search for. So we just didn't. We were like, let's just start it.
Yeah, we would occasionally get like, a magazine, Bourbon Review or that type of thing. But YouTube wise, that wasn't something that we were watching. So when we started, we didn't have any example of anything to model it after. We just started just kind of doing our own thing. And then as we went along, other channels started to come along, and then we became friends with them. And, we would hear a lot of, I used to watch you before I started my channel, which is really, awesome. And, a real big compliment. But now there's like this really big, strong Whiskey Tube community. And we're glad that we kind of got in sort of like on the ground floor.
Yeah, it feels like it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It is amazing. I mean, not only on YouTube, but go to Facebook, and there are hundreds of whiskey groups.
Yep.
And it's, to me, I don't know. I mean, I've loved whiskey for about 30 years now. More, about 30 odd years. And yet I never have an urge to take a photo of a bottle and show it unless it's a present from someone. And I'm saying thank you. And I'll post on, like Dave Schmier will send me some special bottle and say, oh, thanks, Dave, from Dave. So I find it really fascinating. Then to go that extra step to start a show where it's, I also never figured anyone cared what I thought about what a whiskey tasted like. Myself.
I think that's where we started of like, when people started, commenting and interacting and we started to gain subscribers, we're like, people care and like listen to us. Because one thing that I think when people introduce us, we've started to do more events and like we were talking about this before, but like, for example, the New Orleans Bourbon Festival, we're leading a session there this year. We've attended for 4 out of the last 5 years. And so, but we never call ourselves experts. When we started, it was literally just, let's bring you along with us on our kind of bourbon journey and see where we go. So I'm like, we're enthusiasts. I would not call us experts. Like everything we know, we've just learned from doing. There's no formal training there or anything like that. So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, as far as I'm concerned, Liz is the expert here, and Marty and I are just along for the ride.
We're hanger-ons.
Yeah, I try to avoid that word as much as possible.
Yeah, I never liked the word expert.
No.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what's exciting about our industry is that I always feel like there's something new to learn. So
yes.
All the time. Somebody's always blowing my mind with something brand new. And even back in the day, say, I don't know, even 10 years ago, you'd read a whiskey book and you go, oh, well, okay, such and such, little factoid. And then somebody would come along and go, no, that's not. I remember sitting in it was a master whiskey meeting we were having, and everyone was saying, hey, what's a straight bourbon? This is back in the early aughts. And so, I don't know. Tom Bullitt didn't even know. He couldn't explain it. Nobody knew. Nobody knew the difference. Everyone thought bourbon had to be 2 years. That was the thing. And you still see those infographs.
Yeah.
And they'll
now it's just a Google away.
Bourbon is 2 years.
Yeah, but the problem with Google is, speaking as an ex-librarian, you don't know that it's all right.
That's true. We actually
is just people.
It's funny that you say that. We actually did an episode of We Googled Your Bourbon Questions, like the most commonly asked questions on Google about bourbon, and we would read them and be like, that's not right.
Yeah, because if you Google something, then they have that box below it that says people also asked. So we would Google something general and then go down to that people also ask and pull down those tabs. And some of the stuff so hilarious and sometimes wrong.
People were like, in that episode, we were reading them and kind of laughing because we were like, wow, no, that's not it. But then people were like, you guys are mean. I was like, oh, come on. It's just funny to see how there's so much misinformation out there about bourbon. So
Oodles.
Yep.
I mean,
even review I got on tasting whiskey, I think was from David Wondrich. He's like, there's a lot of misinformation out there, and you managed to write a book and not add to it. I'm like, awesome. Solid.
Wow.
That's only because Lou avoided those questions.
That's right. Don't talk about that shit.
We had Charlie McLean. When Charlie was on last time, he said bourbon has to be aged a minimum of I think he said no. Did he say straight bourbon has to be 3 years?
Yeah, something.
And I wanted to correct him, but it's Charlie McLean. And he's a Scotch guy. He's Scotch. He's all about Scotch. So.
Let it go. Let it
go. Okay. Yeah. That's it. Marty Lou, you mentioned, so we're speaking about the New Orleans Bourbon Festival. That's sort of the thing that you guys are going to do a talk on, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, we're going to be doing them, not me.
Oh,
I you guys. I thought you meant
what you guys are doing too.
Yeah, go ahead, Chad. What are you guys doing there?
We're doing basically a blind flight, one of our flight fights. That's one of our long running episodes that we've done. We're doing an audience participation blind flight fight.
Because what we've discovered, again, through our experience, not as experts, has been that a lot of times, people latch onto something because of the marketing or because of what their friends like and have introduced them to or whatever it may be. And they've latched onto something, and you can try to introduce them to other things and they'll reject them or not be open to it because they are convinced that they like this product. And I'm not trying to make anybody mad and take it away from them, but I think people deserve to have a full scope of what's out there and to really find out what they actually like based on their palate and not based on their perception.
Yeah, take those biases out.
Because you could be spending more money than you need to be spending. If you like a $22 bottle, but you're spending $50 or $60 or whatever, you're hunting for Blanton's because that's what you think you like, but really you like,
Well, that actually dovetails really well into a favorite story of mine. I'll tell real quick. I was a what do you call it? Groomsman? Yes,
Groomsman.
At my buddy's wedding, he was getting married at Buffalo Trace, and so they wanted to stock the bar just with Buffalo Trace products, obviously,
as they do.
So he got all of the groomsmen over at his house to try various Buffalo Trace products and figure out what it would be. So when I got there, I was like, hey, it's a great opportunity to do this blind. You know, take all the bias, all the labels out. So then every groomsman then proceeded to tell me what their order was going to be. And of course most of them put Blanton's. Well, my order is going to be Blanton's, and it's going to be Eagle Rare. Then I'm going to like Buffalo Trace, and this blah, blah, Ancient Age is going to be at the end. I was like, all right, cool, let's do it. So we did it. We had the bride to be pour us all blind.
And then the results?
The results, I think 4 out of 6 picked Ancient Age 90 proof first.
And the look on their faces was probably priceless. Yeah,
minds were blown. I'm like, well, hey, congratulations, guys. You can get a much cheaper more than Blanton's.
But that's not what they want to hear.
That's not what they want to hear.
So that's why we like to do that exercise. It's fun to unveil to people what they actually like versus what they think they like.
Yeah.
Well, so it's a little different, I guess, in bourbon because you don't have as many age statements, but you have different whiskeys that have a cachet. Blanton's, or when Fred picked McKenna, and then all of a sudden it was the hot property. I had a guy come up to me when I used to do the classic malts for Scotland, and
I see that. I've been looking at that ever since this came on.
What?
I used to drink McKenna back in the day. It was, Jesus,
I know.
Just pick it right off the shelf.
I used to think that was so. I thought when I first had it, like, oh my god, this has to be expensive. No, it's like $30 in your at the time.
Yeah.
This used to be what I would take to like events like Friendsgiving or something because I was like, it's only $28 if everybody drinks it. That's okay.
I was buying Elijah Craig 12-year-old for $14. Which is just, honestly, that was stupid for them.
Oh yeah.
Whiskey should have been selling for at least 20, but it's all I could get.
Well, we got to get some pitchforks and some torches and head over to Fred's house.
His fault.
Villagers. But I was representing the single malts, the classic malts. I had a guy came up to me. He was a nice guy. He meant well, but he said, "Oh, you know what? Just so you know, I never drink anything under 18 years of age." And I go, "Oh, you're an idiot." Because really? No, really? You think everything just because an age statement makes things better? It doesn't. It doesn't make it better. It tells you how old it is, or the youngest whiskey. Added in there. That's all it tells you.
But it's perception, and you're trying to fight it, and it's hard to just tell somebody that. I think you have to show them in something like a blind or something where they're not aware and they can't choose based on what they think it is.
Well, also, I think the sad thing is that people find their favorite, whether it be, I like 10-year-old bourbon, or I like 100 proof, or I like this label, or whatever it is. And then 5-10 years go by and they're still singing the same story. Like,
but there's so much.
You need to taste change, palates progress as you get older, or you get used to something, or just, taste change.
Different seasons,
what you're drinking it out of, where you're drinking it, what you've eaten, blah, 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 blah. Like when we started the channel, I used to think that I didn't like Wild Turkey 101, and I probably didn't when I first had it because it was too robust, too high rye, too high proof, whatever it may be. But I had that in my head. I don't like Wild Turkey 101. We did that very first episode, 50 under 25, and I had it blind, and it won that round. And I was so shocked. I was like, what? What's happening? Well, then I learned a very valuable lesson. Try things again.
Right. Don't just try.
Don't just make up your mind. And then even if it's something that we had on live a couple weeks ago, we thought, it was fine. We tried it again today, and our opinion had changed a little bit. So
enough about us. We want to hear what you guys are doing at the New Orleans Bourbon Festival.
I want to talk some more about me.
It's not your show, Chad. See, this is the problem when you get us on. We're like, it's our show now.
But that's just it. You're there.
So,
it's all about you. It's your birth. It's like we invited you over for your birthday.
It's like dancing. We need to let you lead.
We plugged the shit out of ourselves at the beginning. So
You're lucky that I have told all of my stories that are actually good, so I'm out. I'm out.
That's all.
Wow.
He's
5 years worth of shows.
That's it.
That's it. Wow.
I was just building on the blind tasting piece. The other thing I've seen is color, right? If it's not in like a black cup, people were like, oh, well, obviously I'm going to like the darker one, when it's, again, that's another thing where it's like, no, just try it and then make it.
Yeah.
We signed up for the Marianne Eves is doing her Eves Blind project. And so we signed up when we just got our first tasting kit, and she sends 2 black Glencairns. Shout out Glencairn. And we were like, actually, this is really awesome, because for a blind, I love taking, I mean, it's basically a black hole of whiskey. You don't know what you're going to get. And I love that, because it just takes all the bias out of it. You can't even see it.
Takes another sense out of the equation.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's good.
I mean, it's funny.
I didn't know there to. Sorry. Go ahead.
No, you go. What were you
I was just saying, tasting at BTI. I mean, you've done that, haven't you, Marty?
Yeah.
You've done it, Liz? Okay. So
No, I haven't, but
you haven't. Okay. So sometimes, I mean, actually most times, as a calibration, they will give you a spirit and they will not tell you what it is at all.
Mm-hmm.
And the day I
Like
was
a
there,
double blind.
yeah. And I mean, I was there to taste whiskeys because that's what I do. But they served up and it was tricky as hell, because it was a Spanish brandy that was aged in a first fill bourbon cask.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Wow.
They don't get a category or anything.
What
It's actually in a
is
little wooden box. They hide the bottle, and even the moderator doesn't even know what it is.
Right. So it's completely blind.
Yeah.
Although
That's wild.
I get into these problems with definition, because my wife is in pharmaceutical research, and she starts like, well, actually, double blind. I'm like, just pour the goddamn whiskey in another room.
Double blind if it's in a black glass and you're actually blind.
It's an adopted term, okay?
yes. Since
That's what they spin you around 20 times, and then you have to drink it.
Yeah.
While you're trying to pin a tail on something.
Or you're trying to put your head on a
database lock.
broomstick.
Yeah.
But hey, she pays the bills. I can't complain too much. So,
Yeah.
Anyway,
the thing is, that's very true. A lot of times, one of the things I've always loved about whiskey, and especially if it's in the right glass, is the color, the look. Because I was watching a movie the other day, and they were drinking a heck of a lot of whiskey in this movie. I forget the movie, and I don't usually drink at home, but man, they were drinking so much whiskey, I had to pour myself a whiskey, because I loved how it looked in pouring in the glass. And
that's your subliminal advertising there.
It is. And it works.
Product placement as well.
Works on this guy.
Yeah, product placement. I've noticed that a lot. Like, we'll see stuff and we'll like rewind and be like, "Did you see that? Did you see that in the background?"
Yeah.
Did you know Jessica Jones?
Yeah, Jessica Jones is one.
All the damn bottom shelf stuff she was chugging. That was awesome.
I was watching Good Girls on Netflix, which is like a movie about 3 women who like decide they're going to start robbing grocery stores or something like that.
Yeah.
And in the background, one of them works at like a convenience store gas station, and she's working behind the counter, and there's a wall of bourbon behind her. And I paused it. I'm like, look at what's on that shelf. I mean, they had great stuff. I'm like, where is this? I wonder.
Well, and what's fun is you watch old films. I mean, old, maybe 60s past. I think they started getting into paying for brands and teaming up with Bond and Smirnoff.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a great movie. My favorite movie, I like it better than the Cameron Titanic, is A Night to Remember from the 1950s British version. And there's a chef on the boat. And this are all true stories. These are all true stories from the sinking of the Titanic. And he was a baker. And he went to his room to get soused. He figured he wasn't getting off the boat. So he bottled a Johnny Walker. Can't miss it. The slanted label, square bottle. Yeah. And you see Johnny Walker, especially in a lot of those, they weren't paying. That was free advertising. And by the way, that baker, he got off the boat.
Oh, well, at least he was feeling good.
Yeah,
Wasn't like King of Kentucky and It's a Wonderful Life?
Yeah.
Isn't that the one?
Mm-hmm. And then there was Shawshank Redemption.
Rosebuds. Rosewood.
Something.
Rose
something.
He's drinking it in the beginning. He's got like a pint of it. And we literally took a screenshot and then went to Justin's house of bourbon and we're like, do you have this? She was like,
I would like to buy that, please.
So
I have
Pretty old.
Did you ever watch the show Deadwood?
Deadwood, yes.
They
Both.
use this
Mhm.
actual bottle, and I've heard about
It is the
for a
Frontier
few-
whiskey, right?
Yeah, but they keep
go.
the orange label on.
Right. They just made it the
Really?
glass bottle. P.S.
Wow.
Deadwood, an amazing show. Underrated, shouldn't have been canceled.
Well, and Justified, lots
Yeah,
of
Justified.
I
So
love
it's-
Justified.
lots of bourbon.
That's
I,
what it's set
yeah,
in Kentucky.
I have the box
worst-
sets of both of this.
Worst bourbon thing about Justified? Every freaking bar they go into has 20-year-old Pappy. Like,
Oh.
come on.
Which just made it worse.
Bullshit
Let's be
is
honest.
that?
Don't you
Yeah.
guys know that's how
because-
Kentucky is? Yeah.
Hollywood.
They're just rubbing salt in the wound
No,
at this
I can
point.
go down to the bar. There's Pappy 20 on those.
Everywhere.
Yeah, but they're in
Sure,
the
Sure, there
back
is
woods.
if you want to pay
Yeah,
$200.
It costs $200 for half an ounce, but
Favorite
But
bourbon
you can
bit
have it.
in Justified was was early on the episode that introduced his father Arlo, and he talks the vet down, the guy that has the grenade. So Raylan wants to buy him a drink, and he's like, "What are you drinking?" He says, "Well, if you're paying," and he gets a glass of Kentucky Spirit. I'm like, "Good thinking, good man." I
Yeah.
like that.
So,
good
so
choice.
while we're on this topic, I wanted to kind of,
Sorry, we're
Okay.
on the topic.
yes, it's a perfect
I thought that was a
segue. So wanted to talk about what role that virtual content, blogs, videos, etc., plays in either trends or certain brand growth, and then also would be interested to hear a rebuttal from Lou and how that compares to more traditional, outlets such as magazines and award shows.
Okay. Sorry, was that a question for us?
I mean,
Yeah, oh,
I
yeah.
think
You're
like,
directed,
Yeah, with you.
I feel like the easy call is I feel like the one place that's benefited the most from that type of stuff is Buffalo Trace. I mean, there's a 2-part Netflix documentary out right now that's
Mhm.
literally saying you can never get this, but it's the nectar of the gods. Okay. Like,
Not that they needed any help.
but they didn't need any more help. But now even more people who didn't already know about it, now they want it too. And like, yeah, I mean,
Yeah, guys are willing to go to prison.
literally,
That's
these
true.
guys were willing to go to jail over this bourbon. Like,
Well,
it must be good.
Money was at the.
Sure, but
Yeah.
still.
But why is it the most popular
Right. Why does it have
bourbon
to be this one?
in the world? Sure. Yeah.
I mean, I can do a rebuttal on that instantly. The last couple of times I've gone to Julian, I mean, Julian and I are friends going back a long time. He don't want to talk to me because he doesn't want anything more being written about the brand.
And I totally hear that because it doesn't really do anything for
No.
them. It does everything
No.
for the secondary market and nothing for
all
them.
it does is piss people off.
It does. It makes people mad that they can't get
Yeah.
it. But
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like you could write 100 magazine articles about another brand and it wouldn't do as much for
No.
that brand as whatever has happened in real life for Buffalo Trace. But like you said, they don't even necessarily want it,
No.
because
You
it's
know-
not helpful for them.
no.
No, it's
Yeah.
interesting though too, especially with say Pappy, that there's always this ricochet effect, and I guess it's true throughout society. We love to build stuff up just to tear it down, and so as soon as you see all these articles about Pappy, and Pappy's that's out up on Mount Olympus, you're trying to reach for a bottle. There's other people going, oh my god, yeah, that.
It's not really that good.
Yeah, I've never had it, but I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. Well, it definitely doesn't live up to the hype, obviously, when it's going for
But
thousands of
nothing
dollars.
can. That's just
But
it.
what can live up to
nothing can.
$2,500 for a bottle? I mean,
But as far as you saying, people saying, oh, it's not all that. I think I've never had it. We do say that if you're going to talk about it, you should at least try it, whether it be you find a decent price of a pour at a bar. You
need to know what side of that you fall
It took
on.
us 5 years to collect our vertical of Pappy, and it's from all different years. But we can at least weigh in on what we think about it. And is it the end all be all? Absolutely not. Is it overhyped? Completely. But at least we can weigh in and say we've had it. This is what it means to us, or this is how we feel about it. and
if you can,
we're not one of those people who's just talking in the dark without never having tried it.
And I think all that being said too, like if you can find one for retail, no one's going to argue with you that it's not a good pour, right? It is,
right.
But there's so much more surrounding that conversation,
and so many better things that we'd rather have too.
And again, that conversation isn't helpful for them either, because
right.
you're like, oh, it's not worth the hype. Like, that's rude. It's a good product that somebody spent a lot of time on.
Right.
But what are you going to do?
And two, a lot of folks try it. When they do try it, because it is going to be expensive, they'll try it at a whiskey show. And I don't know if you've ever been to a whiskey fest, but if you're there during the VIP and they open those doors, there is a mob. It looks like Black Friday at Target. They just come
flying in the door,
flying in to line up to get a little sample. And then they move on to the next whiskey because they're going to try to drink as many of the older, rare stuff that people are pouring in the 1 hour.
Yep.
And it's like, how do you savor anything? How do you really recall what that tasted like?
It's so funny because we actually have a clip from, I think it was the 2017 New Orleans Bourbon Festival, or maybe 2018, where the VIP hour, one of the things that Buffalo Trace they poured was, I think, some Pappy and some B-Tac.
23.
In the first, and then we got footage of or a recording of us going up to that table and a guy asking, hey, do you have any Pappy 23? And
he said, I'll take the 23.
The guy behind, the guy working the station goes, man, it was gone in the first 5 minutes. It was already gone. And I mean, it's so true though.
Well,
you
said,
had
one bottle,
but they mobbed it. Everybody went straight there and it was gone immediately. It's like,
one year at San Francisco Whiskey Fest, we had VIP hour. They brought 2 bottles of 20-year-old, and one of them was corked, and they refused to pour it. I mean, rightly so. Doesn't happen often with whiskey, but it does happen.
Was there a riot?
I thought there was going to be a riot. Mind you, I was watching all that from about 30 feet away at the Glenn Farkless table, where they were pouring 40-year-old with no line at all, and I'm just like,
oh man,
look at that shit. That's going to be ugly.
He was like, glad I'm not over there.
I'm surprised, Lou. Did people clamor and say, open it anyways? It's cool, 20-year-old Pappy. They were. People wanted to do it, and they just refused. It's just nuts. That's what was getting ugly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You got to respect that call, though. The product should be drank at the way the product should be drank.
Right. Yeah.
Well, I mean, those shows really are there to spotlight your whiskey. You don't want to be putting out some corked whiskey.
Well, and there's another thing. Actually, getting back to the question Liz asked about influence and such, I found blending it with, sorry, I always get confused. Blending it with what Marty was saying about the Facebook groups and the social media whiskey, barrel picks. Barrel picks have exploded in the last 3 years. It's just gotten crazy. I mean, how much of that came out of social media as opposed to almost anything else?
Yeah, I think social media big time. And kind of talking about influence, we kind of saw how little we had, because we would talk about this guy before it won in San Francisco. We would talk about this guy often and say, hey, this is a diamond in the rough. This is a gem. It's only $28. It's always on the shelf. This is great. And it would still be on the shelf. And then San Francisco happened, and then it goes away.
Well, now people Google and that video comes up or whatever, and people are like, you ruined this. I'm like, sir, you think I have way more input than I actually have? Listen, nobody listens to me.
We didn't. So in that vein, I feel like award, what do you call them? Award
accolades,
festivals or
whiskey awards
competitions, and the Facebook groups where people see, hey, this bottle went for 4, 5, 6 times what the retail is.
Yeah,
I think that fuels the fire way more.
So marketing and word of mouth
than any YouTube channel or Instagram account or podcast saying, hey, this stuff's awesome.
Unless it's Fred.
Unless it's Fred.
Honestly, yeah. I've known Fred since well before he had any freaking influence at all.
Yeah.
And I mean, he's as
good luck finding this guy again.
Right. I mean,
I'm just teasing him.
So why Why that guy? Well, and so Liz, you just and Jim Murray, same thing.
Yeah. I mean, the Jim Murray thing. So I don't know how long Jim Murray's been doing that. Seems like at least 20 years.
Too long. I would say.
So it's this guy. My question has always been every time that guy puts out his book and declares, he's the best whiskey of 2021, and you go, what happened to the best whiskey of 2020?
One guy. Yeah.
Is it no longer in the competition?
Not good anymore.
Yeah.
Did anyone happen to see Whiskey Sponge today?
No.
There was a new Whiskey Sponge out today. They're not coming out as often, so when one came out, I leapt on it, and it was about all the dark matter in the universe is actually whiskey packaging. All those damn peanuts that you get in the boxes and all the cardboard and the blow up things. And they said there's also a large amount of sold copies of the Whiskey Bible. That's where, yeah. So the guy has a huge amount of influence. Fred has a huge amount of influence. I can't think of any other two people that have that kind. And yet, why? I don't know. I'm not saying they're not. I mean, I've judged with Fred. I respect his palate, and so on. But why? How'd that happen?
Yeah. Well, and this is just it. And this is why I actually really love your guys' show. One, I think, see, you're at a different level than me. I've never gotten to you guys were looking at your bottles and you go, okay, this one was made by Herb at Heaven Hill on August 3rd. I mean, you had details that I thought, oh my God, I don't know. How do you know this stuff? And I mean, a lot of that stuff is fascinating. I don't jump on it myself because I don't have that much room up here for, little details. But when it comes to taking a stranger's, someone I've never drank with, taking their advice on something, I would listen to Lou, because Lou's been around the block, and actually Lou's a beer guy.
We put a few down together as well, so we know.
But also you're a beer guy, so when you do say, "Hey, I really like this whiskey," I'm like, "Oh, I gotta try that." Now, if Liz were to recommend something, I go, "Whoa, because Liz has inside knowledge, stuff she can't even talk about."
You would know it's exceptionally well made.
Yeah, right, exactly. She was like, she's like an architect, and if I said I'm afraid to go in that building, she goes, "No, it's very sound, structurally sound. I think you'll enjoy."
I'd walk right in.
And that's why I've never listened to Jim Murray. I've never listened to these guys. Dave Broom, I'll listen to because I went out drinking with Dave. I like Charlie McLean.
Drinks. Huh? I had tiki drinks with Dave Broom. That was a fun day.
I feel like what we try to do, instead of saying go get this, don't go get this, is more of when we do give our notes and we talk through, because our episodes will be roughly 10 minutes long, between 5 and 10. When we're uncorking something and we're reviewing it and we're giving our notes and our just initial thoughts, I think it serves more, and what the feedback that we've gotten a lot is to just see how well our palate identifies with your palate, or how well you can identify. So people will comment, I'm more on the same page with Chad than I am with Sarah when it comes to what I like, what he likes. So then people will, based on just the comments that we give, kind of identify with one of us more and then take recommendations based on that. And again, it's not like our word is the word. We kind of just try to guide people based on our own experience. And I mean, I like that because I never want people to be like, oh, well, I got this because you said get it and now I hate it. And I spent $100,
I feel like people comment more that they're your flavor
profile. Well, I was trying to give you some credit, but you didn't take it, so.
Well, but see, that's the benefit, too, of the two of you. There's two, right, as opposed to one guy who just sitting in his, his bedroom, in his robe, telling us, this is the one I really enjoy. I like this a lot, and it was given to me free.
So Barney Gumble from The Simpsons has a YouTube channel about Let's get it. Hey, Homer, this bourbon's pretty good.
It is nice though, because
You got any Pappy 20 up there?
Just soaked into my veins.
it's nice though because we can have a discussion where sometimes Chad will be like, I really like this, and I'm like, I'm so on it. You know, and we can talk about what he likes, what I like, and what we don't like about it. And it's more of a chat that can hopefully help people decide whether or not they want to spend the money, right? Because you know, we are fortunate enough to get a lot of samples.
Approach.
Yeah.
Was that the two palette approach? Interesting.
The two
Free
palette approach.
marketing. It's for you. That's what we do on the show.
Yeah, the two palette approach, but also the male female approach as well.
Yes,
we are
mention that as well. Yeah,
it's just science. Liz and I are better tasters than you guys.
It
It's
is.
not our fault.
That's what I hear.
You're born with better senses of smell. I mean, and
It's to protect babies. It's not your fault.
It is. I know. You're a gatherer.
We don't really care.
You
Fun
gotta make
fact.
sure this berry's better than that berry, and don't eat that one. So
yeah.
Fun fact: men have bigger nostrils. It was thought that we were supposed to be smelling game when we were cavemen. I'm not assuming today, but you know, when we were cavemen, we were supposed. They said, "Oh, the bigger nose is bigger nostrils, so you could smell mammoths and saber-toothed tigers coming." Now it's because men needed more oxygen for their muscles and more muscle mass.
Run.
Women actually, even with the smaller noses, have a much keener sense of smell. Women can identify their babies blindfolded, not the baby's blindfolded, the mother's blindfolded.
Why would you blindfold a baby?
Huh?
Why would you blindfold a baby?
I know, that's what I'm saying. The baby's not blindfolded. The mother's blindfolded.
Oh, okay.
Now the baby, her baby out of like 10 babies.
So that's a question.
Liz, how
Father's
far
not
off
even
topic
there.
are we?
Yeah,
Oh no, we're dead on the money here. This is a perfect show.
we're about a minute until I come in. So yeah, but I appreciate you waving the flag.
Yeah, I'm like, and let's course correct.
So
This
how
is the
about we have some comments?
Yeah.
Yes,
You got
comments.
some really nice comments here. I like
Yeah,
that.
so-
From artists, unless you want.
Scott Pixley says, "Hey Chad and Sarah!" Exclamation! I want to bourbon heist in Chad and Sarah's bourbon library. So I guess you know, get the flyer out. I guess so.
You got to be on a softball team.
Okay. Brad Krause, our boy Brad.
In Panama.
Hey Brad, thanks for joining. Trent S says, "I'm curious if that was the footage playing on the TVs in OBC for years."
Yes.
Yes, that's the same video as the video. It's kind of our little.
We like to say they keep it on as a tribute to us.
Nice.
That's not true at all.
It's not true at all, but we really like to say it.
It's like instead of a song, you guys have a video.
It's true. And we take people there when they come in town.
video.
We're like, look at that. That's our video.
Golf Whiskey says hello.
Glenn and Kathy.
Glenn and Kathy Golf Whiskey.
Bourbonary says, "LOL, guilty of photographing my pores all the time on Instagram. Oops."
People will do what people do.
Better your pores than something else.
I mean, I think it's just like anything else. If you have a presence online or on social media, you also have a responsibility that goes with that. And you just need to be aware of the impact of what you do. That doesn't mean don't do it or don't do anything. Just like give it, you know, when we first started, we wouldn't give it a moment's thought to just like throw something out there. And now it's like,
now
we just need to be aware. Are we adding to people's frustration when we post something like this about something they'll never get? Like, let's just be thoughtful, you know?
That's actually really interesting, Sarah. And I don't know if we want to go into this topic. But
I think we want to go into more comments.
Well, yeah. Well, just real quickly, just like you said, when we first started, we wouldn't think of anything about posting something. And I think even to a whiskey that we really didn't like, because it's like, it's kind of fun to rip into something you don't like. And it kind of gets a little infectious and everyone's like, yeah, this is terrible. And then, you know, eventually you think someone
I feel sad. Somebody spent a lot of time on this.
A lot of time into this. It was maybe it's like their baby. There's also people out there who, if they're still in business, obviously, there's people who buy this and love it. And so we kind of pump the brakes on like, this is the worst thing in the world.
Hateful is not on brand for us.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Good.
So,
Yeah.
You know, Lou and I, and I'm sure Liz does it, and Liz consults with distillers. So, but I know Lou and I have visited distilleries together, and you go in, and that's exactly the thing, especially small distilleries where their stuff is new. And one of the biggest faults I could say with young distillers, new distillers, that they don't go out and try other people's stuff and kind of compare their stuff to others. And so all they taste is theirs. Then you go, oh my God, you're going to love this. And it's so many different flavors going on. And then you taste it and you go, oh yeah, there's a lot of flavors going on. All right.
This is a mumble piece of shit.
Yeah, but you don't want to say that because it is. It's like telling someone their baby's ugly.
Their baby's ugly, right?
I will do.
But sometimes I think it helps if they do go out and taste some other people's stuff, and then they frame theirs as, yes, we recognize that this is, young and it's this and it's that. However, you can taste X, Y, and Z in it, which is a good example of where we're trying to go when we age it for 6 years or 8 years or whatever. And then it's almost like we're giving you a taste of what this will become eventually. And we're putting this out there now because we have to from a financial standpoint or whatever. But like, we're bringing you along our journey. That to me is a totally different framework than just like, here it is. It's great. You're going to love it.
Yeah. But also hard for someone to admit, I would feel like, to say,
it's your baby.
Here's our shortcomings. Also, please give us $60 for it. And stay with us as a consumer.
Yeah.
Why would I do that? I have to be honest. Why would I do that?
When there's so much other competition out there that
well, there's
tough.
Evan Williams out there,
Right. 17 degrees, 90 proof.
You didn't bottle times.
This is when the craft spirits started coming out. This was the knock against all the big Diageo whiskeys was that, oh, you guys aren't craft. These are all being handcrafted.
Did you say you're welcome?
I know, but do you realize these guys, like if you go to Oban, they've been at it for over 200 years. They're not practicing anymore. They kind of got it down.
Right.
So you can say it's not, they might have gotten rid of some employees and replaced them with machines, but those machines are probably a little more accurate than the people. Unfortunately, it's not popular to say, but it's true. It's just the weirdest thing. People.
It is interesting.
Arguments on both sides. So it's
definitely.
Liz, have you ever gone into a distillery that you've been requesting just kind of do a spit take? You try it and go, oh! Anything like that?
Are you asking me?
Yeah. I said Liz. Yeah.
No, I don't. I won't do that.
Will you make a face?
No.
Will you turn around and make a face? Will you go?
No. I mean, I try to be pretty respectful, but at the same time, I'm obviously there for a reason. So it's about objectivity at that point.
Yeah. Do you feel like it's almost like
Yeah, they're paying you too.
Yeah.
Do you almost feel like it's like getting souvenirs on vacation or something? Like those distilleries are in areas where, especially around here, like if you're traveling and you happen across one, that you'll pick a bottle up because you were there and it's a marker of you being there. And I mean, I know that a lot of them are trying to make it, but it's such a crowded space, and you really have to be bringing your A game, like to even break. I mean, it's hard to, how do you compete with this? Like, how do you do it? I don't know.
If I go to a distillery, and I visit distilleries on behalf of Glencairn, so I have to be on my best behavior. But I won't. Yeah. But I won't.
Hashtag Glencairn. Hashtag ad.
Hashtag whiskeyambitions.com. Buy Glencairns.
I won't buy anything if nothing jumps out at me. Something has to jump out at me. It doesn't have to be a whiskey. I went to Clear Creek back when Stephen McCarthy still owned it. And though I liked that McCarthy's peated single malt he did, the thing that I really drew my attention.
Brandy, wasn't it?
Huh? What?
The fruit brandy?
No, it was he had the eau de vive of Douglas fir.
Oh, yeah.
That I thought was fantastic. Plus all the process, all the trouble that went into making this eau de vive. You go up into the hills, cut off the ends of Douglas firs, soak it in there for like 10 days, I think, then distill it again, then bring it back up, cut off more Douglas firs, let it soak for 10 months. And
So you like the story and you like the taste.
Yeah. Well, and I also
marketing is becoming,
I just thought, wow, this is really cool for, I like dirty martinis. And I thought, ooh, I like my gin juniper-y. I love it. Yeah, that's juniper. If it was a monster.
Okay.
Hey, so guys, with all your collection, I'm curious. And now that you're YouTube stars, 5 years, big focus. I've seen your views, huge. Maybe not as big as our 10 or 12 that we get on YouTube, but you guys get. Have you been approached? I mean, all that whiskey you have back there. Do brands say, "Hey, how about we give you a case of something and maybe a little cheddar cheese?" And
Well, it's never been the brands outright. So it has been a few of their
marketing agencies, their PR people
who have reached out, and all of those that have happened, we have declined because we want to keep our, our integrity and our.
Right, we couldn't do like, wow, this Henry McKenna is delicious. Sponsored by Heaven Hill.
Heaven Hill.
Like, who would believe you? Nobody would believe you. So we're never going to do that. I mean, people will send us samples and they'll be like, we'd love it if you'd review our latest blah, blah, blah. And we'll do that. And we'll admit, we'll say up front.
We always disclose if a bottle was
sent to us
by the distillery.
But we don't, and only we'll truly ever know. Because again, there's going to be people that don't believe us. But our opinions are our own. We don't get paid. So there's really no reason for us. Like your one bottle and us gaining your favor is not worth our 5 years worth of credibility. So I'm not going to lie for you.
Especially when you get like 5 to a dozen bottles in the mail every week.
Sure. And we've had people send us stuff and I say, we'd love your notes back. And we'll send them our notes. And then they never talk to us again because they were like, we didn't like that.
We didn't like your note.
I'm like, I'm sorry. I didn't love what you sent. So
now that was very craft.
Very craft. But, what are you going to do?
Distilleries. But no, we've never taken any money from distilleries to review a product.
Or their agencies.
Nor will we ever because we don't want to destroy that credibility and lose that. But, there has been some.
Now, if Glencairn wanted to buy an ad, that'd be a different story.
Because we love them. Drink from
Glencairn. They're Scottish. Everything you've heard about Scottish.
We don't like Scottish,
I love them.
But when we're drinking bourbon, we drink it out of a Glencairn.
I know.
And that's how it would go. That's how the ad would go.
Brought to you by Glencairns from Scotland.
The boys,
for an example, that's something that we would consider.
Yeah, of course.
Because we believe, but truly, we use it, we believe in it, it's part of our whole thing. Yeah. I'm not going to force something, and I'm not going to lie about your product.
And you guys sell them on your website,
WhiskeyAmbitions.com.
WhiskeyAmbitions.com.
We have several.
We had that beautiful cut crystal Glencairn, which is just about sold out.
We have one left in stock.
It was for one.
Oh we have one left in stock.
Yes, just like Marty has. It was for our 5th anniversary. It was a double logo. Our new logo. Well, this isn't the full logo, but
anyways,
our new logo, and then a 5th year
little emblem
on the other side. Cut crystal, beautiful. We ordered a couple hundred, and they've been gone in like a week.
2 weeks, not even 2 weeks.
Less than 2 weeks. We have one left. Who knew?
But this isn't an episode about Glencairn.
Well, it's sort of.
Yeah.
Any more comments, Liz?
Yes, I would love to circle back to some comments.
You got a lot of great comments.
As long as they're about Glencairns.
Well, this one's about you guys. So Patricia says, "Hi all, I've learned so much from Chad and Sarah. Our collection has grown, and we are excited to find new bourbon on every trip we take to Kentucky. Thanks for sharing your knowledge."
Aww. I love that.
Our pleasure.
That last one from Patricia.
Oh, and another comment from Patricia, a follow-up, says, "I am more with Chad's palate, and my husband likes the bourbon that Sarah likes."
Whoa.
Something for everyone.
Yeah.
Trans palates. That sounds like trans
palate approach, baby.
2-palate approach. Boom.
2-palate approach.
Goldfish says, Chad and Sarah are like tour guides in the bourbon zone. They have showed us so much and steered us away from the clunkers.
Bourbon zone. That's not like the death zone on Everest, is it?
No, it's like highway to the danger
Oxygen's
zone.
really low.
Yeah, that's what it's.
Yeah.
Bourbon zone. Highway to the bourbon zone.
Nobody asked for the singing.
I'm pretty sure someone did.
Brad Krause says, I had an Old Forester Saturday night, and it was fabulous. Many much less expensive bourbons, many less expensive bourbons are underrated.
Agreed.
Absolutely.
Bourbonary says, I've never had anything from Old Forester that I didn't think was great.
Yeah, really.
There you
I
go.
really like Old
A
Forester.
glowing review.
1920 is one of our
I
favorites.
I love their new place on Main Street too.
Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah.
I love that.
What's Brad has another one?
Yeah, Brad also said, my first order of barrels to age my rum in, they couldn't fill it totally with Woodford. So he ended up filling it with Old Forester. Did I complain? No.
No. Ooh, I feel like those flavors go hand in hand though.
That'd be nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be good.
We're all clamoring for that rum now, Brad.
Give me
Yep.
the rum. I want that.
Yep.
What's the sample?
Actually, that'd be nice. We were talking about how Brad's in Panama. Has a
Yes.
distillery down in Panama. He said he had a whiskey coming.
Doing whiskey.
That would be really interesting. I've never had a whiskey. I don't think I've ever had a whiskey from Central America.
Well, he is a brewer, so
Yeah.
yeah.
OJ Lima says, Taste, Select, Repeat has the best barrel picks. Is that in Kentucky? Do you guys know?
I never heard of that. Taste like
Sounds like it might be OJ Lima's company. Since they then follow up and say, but I'm biased.
All right, talk about advertising.
Oh, yes.
Hey,
And then the adding here, but I'm biased. So
At least he knows.
But I
Yeah,
asked
and he's
them, have
honest.
they had and it's Bourbon Night barrel pick?
Don't be.
boom.
Probably not. The odds are not in our favor.
Now, we talked about this in the pre-chat, but how many whiskeys do you have there behind you?
The number is unknown.
Unknown.
Estimated.
From parts unknown.
Do you want to give an estimation or no? We couldn't even give a ballpark.
I mean, ballpark. We're in the 700 to 800 plus range.
Which I know that seems outrageous, and it is, but these bottles you've been starting with whiskey since what, 2003? I mean, I had my own bottles, not as many, granted, when we got married. And then again, like we talked about, we get some things from press releases and things like that. And we buy a lot of stuff for the show, so.
How you buy that? You have as much.
Well, we've budget,
budget.
Well, yeah, but still, budget for whiskey.
Thankfully, we have a great Patreon community, which
that's right.
helps us get a lot of these
to be able to review things.
And our barrel picks, speaking of those, have really ramped up. So
we get bottles from there.
Then you're like, well, we need about 5 to 10 of this barrel pick, and here's another one, 5 to 10.
In a year, someone will be like, "Hey, you got any of that left?" And we'll be like, "We do."
Yeah. So
Put your collection in perspective, though, guys. You have more whiskey on those shelves than Delilah's Whiskey Bar here in Chicago does.
Delilah's excellent.
We hope to be in Chicago in September.
Yeah, because
we do love Delilah's.
The thing that some people don't realize,
it's nice to clean things up. It's really nice.
Good.
Expanded a little, new floor.
You see some collections, and it's sort of like, maybe 6-inch deep shelves, and there's 1, maybe 2 bottles in front of each other. Ours are about
3 to 4.
3 to 4 deep here, and then 5 to
Humble
6.
brag.
5 to 6 deep over here on this shelf, which is 18 inches deep. We really built them not just for displaying, but for storage, because we started to run into a big storage problem.
I was like, if I have to scooch around bottles on the floor one more time.
Yeah, so these are floor to ceiling, and they're deep because they're there for storage, not just displaying.
Yeah, I'm hearing that from my wife about the scooching around the stuff on the floor.
Scooching. Yeah,
I'm hearing that from my cat.
Yeah.
Well, the cat might just be like, boop.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like messing with you today.
I don't like this one. That's how she knocks it over.
No, I mean, it is a blessing, but we also have to figure out what to do with all of it. So
Well, and the other thing
it's made us get creative.
we should say is I want to get every bottle that's made. So I'll see a $10 bottle at some liquor store that I've never had, and I'll buy that bottle because I want it in the collection. It doesn't have to just be exceptional things that we love and blah blah blah. No, every bottle.
Like that
of
one
bourbon.
Makers that was like what?
When they changed the proof there for those 6 months.
And then everybody revolted
yeah.
until they changed it back. He was like, I gotta have one. Even though we're never gonna drink it, he was like, I gotta have it.
Is that a little OCD though? Shouldn't you say
Yes.
that?
Oh, 100%. Yes.
Completely. Do you not even know about how
Nail on the head.
the faux tax strips have to
I've
be?
been trained to line them back up. Otherwise, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear about it.
Wow.
Hey,
You also have to tap it 3 times
No,
when you're
you
done.
don't have to tap it. It's worth
Going back to, about taking photos of your whiskey and stuff and not doing anything too weird, being responsible. I no longer take photos of my whiskeys at crime scenes. I used to do that a lot. And so I stopped doing that, and I feel a lot better about myself.
Probably better for your alibi.
Yeah.
Involved.
A lot. We're always calling right afterwards.
Last comment from Bourbonary says, commenting on your collection, I hope you have those bottles insured.
Yes.
What a great comment.
Yes, we do.
Do you
We
really?
do. Security system in place, all the safe stuff.
So don't try anything funny.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, do you have a listed?
Wait, we got a Home Alone setup going on, so don't come in our house.
Yeah, paint cans everywhere.
Coming. Ow.
Yeah. Feathers.
It would be bad for you.
Do you have an inventory? You don't have an inventory though for it all. Do you?
Well, the
We have
the collection is up to date, but those bottles that we've gotten recently that are open for the show and stuff, those don't really need to be inventory because you can't insure things that are open.
Right.
But we still do for our sake.
We need to update that inventory.
And that's the thing. That's
but we
not
have the
up to date.
collection. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Excel sheets.
Awesome.
All right.
Yeah, it's like you need SAP or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like we need our own inventory
We
system.
need a scan gun.
Yeah.
Well, Chad and Sarah, it's been such a pleasure having you on the show.
That's been great.
So much for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
Yes, it's been great. Our pleasure.
Thanks. You can have any one of the 3 of us on your show for a fee. We learned that from Fred.
We'll have our booker call you. We don't have a booker yet.
Our agent.
Or a booker, or you can just send us a bottle of bookers.
Sure.
Oh.
Our bottle of bookers will contact you.
So moving ahead to next week, we have 3 guests on next
Maybe. It's still up in the air whether we'll have all 3 brothers on.
Yeah, Ian, David, John from Arbiki. I'm saying that wrong. Arbiki Distillery in Scotland. So hopefully, maybe we'll have.
They made the first rye whiskey in Scotland.
So kind of a big deal. So come back next week, sign up, and we'll see you next Tuesday.
Don't forget to buy Lou and Liz's books. So they're here. They're a pre-order for the holiday, for Thanksgiving.
The puppy is not for sale.
Not for
We'll
sale.
have a couple of pictures in here with him and a turkey. So you might want to for Thanksgiving.
And on that note, again, thanks so much, Chad and Sarah. Thanks everyone for joining us. Cheers. We'll see you all next week.
Cheers, guys.
Bye.